Everybody, welcome back to my channel Trading Secrets. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. For those of you who do not know, my name is Ali. I have over 20 years experience teaching accounting, economics, business and law. Through this channel I'll be providing some stock analysis and a quick update on the $1 Million Challenge. If anybody's not aware of this is a journey of investment of $1,000 to a return of $1 million over a period of 3 years using a strategy called compound return investing. So the objective is try to get 201 trades, each with an average return of 3.5%. It's not 201 consecutive trades, we do take into account losses. So for further details about how to join us for less than $9 a month, information is available in the description below. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the press release shared by NextBridge Hydrocarbons, and this is addressing the concerns with regard to the responses to Congress from FINRA and the SEC. So the company have come out quite strong, and they've provided some significant information in terms of questions regarding shorts and also questions regarding FINRA's legal authority. So stay tuned for that. We're also going to be looking at an update on ticker symbol ARM, which we covered in the previous video. And before we get started, let's have a look at what's happening in the market. So first headline here from Reuters, we can see the S&P 500 breached 5,000 in terms of valuation. So good news there in terms of the market overall, although there is not strong performances in all the sectors. So Asia trades were mostly higher. Cloudflare jumped up 20%. Pinterest went down 25% after a negative report. And in terms of the S&P 500, that it did do quite well overall. So going forward, hopefully good news for the markets. And in other news with regard to crypto, we are seeing a little bit of a good resurgence in Bitcoin. So we can see here Bitcoin has again breached $46,000, hopefully going closer to the $50,000 mark, and good news for people holding crypto. So before we look at the press release, quick reaction from yesterday's video where we looked at a potential 2 million sell limit order for MMTLP. So quick reaction here from Timeless Tim, who shared that post, and he stated, "Thank you for explaining my large sell order. It is true. Sadly, he's also one of the many people who carried out extensive DD and the dreams were cancelled, but Congress now needs to see that the wrong side is real and hopefully the house of cards is falling down." So let's now move on to have a look at the press release. So we can see here the company posted about this earlier yesterday, and we can see here in terms of the date, this is dated February the 8th 2024. So let's break it down and have a look at some of the key areas. So the company have stated they have reviewed the responses from FINRA and the SEC regarding the U3 halt. So we're going to have a look at the concerns shared by the company. Obviously we know Congress are involved, and they've stated here that NextBridge Hydrocarbons will gladly participate to help obviously clarify any factual records, relevant events, and the company has different perspectives and opinions as opposed to FINRA. So there is no agreement between the company and FINRA, so that's positive to hear. And they are also saying they're willing to share those perspectives given an opportunity in the meeting. I'm sure Gary Gensler and FINRA will not accept that and will not look forward to that, because it will certainly bring home some hard truths. So the company believes that themselves and the investors have a right to know. I certainly agree with that. Congress and the SEC have a duty and an interest to understand the total aggregate outstanding short positions held by foreign and domestic institutions that exceed the issued and outstanding shares of the company. So that is critical, that is important, and that is potentially the smoking gun. An important figure remains unknown. So that is something that I believe FINRA called insignificant in terms of the total amount of short shares. I think they used a figure of around about 2.65 million as insignificant. So FINRA and the SEC have access to resources, investigatory powers, and also foreign information sharing tools, and they also have the blue sheet data. But I think FINRA stated they don't have the authority to use the blue sheet data, which also seems quite surprising. FINRA also issued the FAQ that we know about and looked at the aggregate share position. Again, yes, confirmation here. They keep referring to this 2.65 million shares out of 165.47 million shares outstanding, and characterized the volume as not significant. They also looked at the entire uncovered short interest position in NextBridge and also believed that that was not significant. And the company have noted that FINRA clarified in the letter to Congress Ralph Norman, that the short interest figure it cited was based on US data alone. So they have ignored the foreign data, and they never clarified that in the FAQs, but now we know that. And obviously it's repeated assertion that the short position it saw as nominal. So that's the word that they used. Unfortunately, the company believe this is a consequential blind spot in FINRA's data, because foreign firms have approached NextBridge Hydrocarbons about procuring more than 2.65 million shares. So that is significant. FINRA have not addressed this concern, and this is also potential proof that there is a huge amount of outstanding shorts, well in excess of 2.65 million, and the company are only requesting that they maintain full transparency. So that's what we're not getting from FINRA. They also believe that further clarification regarding the limits of the data available to FINRA would be helpful for investors, and investors have been asking for transparency and clarity in the market. So the company are also concerned about uncovered short selling activity which may have been carried out by entities that are exempt from SEC registration. So I'm surprised that this is being allowed in the US markets. This is a loophole that needs to be closed. In fact, it should not even be allowed, because obviously this is giving an opportunity to a significant number of nefarious activities, so who are obviously allegedly exempt from reporting. So they believe that there is an onus on FINRA to help resolve the ongoing investor concerns due to the role played in the events led to the U3 halt. So now I think it gets interesting. The subsequent confusion, FINRA stated that it determined the U3 halt was necessary and appropriate to protect investors and ensure a fair and orderly market. What an absolute joke. And remember, FINRA have not announced a single investor that was protected, and FINRA has not announced how this led to a fair and orderly marketplace. We know it was fair for non-retail investors, but certainly not fair for retail investors. So is that what they're talking about? So would they take issue with the FINRA's repeated assertion that their role is limited to reviewing and processing the corporate action? This is where I think FINRA are likely to get into trouble if Congress can push this error that they've carried out. And submission announcing the corporate action to market participants, we're talking here about Rule 6490, which is currently trending in the MMTLP community, in which case FINRA may determine not to process the corporate action. So we do not believe this described the role FINRA played in the MMTLP corporate action submission process, nor does it complete a recitation of FINRA's authority under Rule 6490. So this is a rule that FINRA needs to look at. FINRA drafted and initial revised the corporate action notice on December the 6th and December the 8th. So why did they do that, and why did they leave it so late? With an instruction that the issuer was not to edit or interpret it. We're talking about obviously metamaterials at that time, and included language that we believe itself became the source of market confusion. So in other words, FINRA created the confusion, not the company FINRA. So FINRA described the notice to Congress Norman as consistent with the market confusion. So for obviously going on to the final page here, we're talking about FINRA describing the role. The notice to Congressman Norman are consistent with information provided by metamaterials, and we know that's not true. And obviously it's notable that they introduced new instructions of MMTLP shares that would be deleted on December the 13th, a date never contemplated or referenced by the issuers, which were metamaterials. Many found difficult to reconcile Meta's announcement, obviously, which was contradictory to this, with regard to the distribution of shares that was supposed to take place on the next day, December the 14th. It was never proposed to FINRA to add a December the 13th cancellation date, so the company never requested this. So FINRA have acted alone and by themselves. And I'm also assuming with authority from the SEC. So the cancellation date and deletion date, adding such a date created an unnecessary restriction to the corporate action and shareholders of MMTLP, and I would also add it created confusion. FINRA's Rule 6490 allows it to refrain from processing requested corporate actions altogether if it determines not processing it is necessary to protect investors and public interest and to maintain fair and orderly markets. Or in other words, what we're saying is the justification FINRA used for the U3 halt was that it was available at the outset of the process, not at the very last minute, to trap all the investors. So the timing was highly inappropriate, and obviously that created significant concerns. Instead, what they did not discern a compelling reason to process the announcement, crafted a different announcement and allowed trading to continue up to December the 8th. So why did that happen if they knew the dates were incorrect? Why did they allow trading up to December the 8th? Then they initiated the U3 halt shortly thereafter when the markets were closed and all participants, long and short, were frozen, and hence we have the MMTLP fiasco. So the company remained confused, and obviously the investors remained confused as to why FINRA did not simply reject the corporate announcement at the outset rather than issuing a halt for extraordinary events. And remember, in one of my previous videos I've covered these extraordinary events. One example would be 9/11, and obviously they're drawing parallels with 9/11 to the MMTLP event as well. So to the great surprise of the issuers and retail investors, the end result was mass confusion, and they said it was to avoid confusion that persists to this day amongst the investor base. Many of whom feel that we're unnecessarily and unfairly denied 2 days of trading. That is correct, which would have allowed the given parties with millions of short positions an opportunity to cover or close. So a great statement and a great press release there. Let's go ahead now and have a look at some of the reactions. Finish off by having a look at some reactions. So first shout out here is to Gandalf, who's quoted the press release here saying FINRA drafted the initial and revised corporate action notices on December the 6th and 8th with an instruction that the issuer was not to edit or interpret. So goodbye FINRA. So very strong words there. And what Mark Basile stated, it begs the question why they exceeded their authority, then exercised apparently authority over the issuer enforcing compliance. So again, that is a question that I think needs to be addressed. What David Lauer has stated, again, I think David is being a little bit conservative. He needs to be a lot more forthright in his criticism of FINRA in handling this, and I believe he's still being a little bit cautious in his response. So he stated here, the saga continues with a new press release in response to obviously Representative Ralph Norman, and a pretty notable statements here. Obviously he's talked about the 2.65 million shares. He's talked about FINRA admitting to a blind spot with regards to the foreign non-members. So I think what I would like David to focus on is Rule 6490, and hopefully he can address that in a following post. But he's more or less talking about the foreign shares and shorts outstanding and the loophole. So what Gator has stated, this is huge. This is a smoking gun that we needed. I believe it is. Enthused 008 has said we now have the receipts. FINRA committed the fraud. And obviously Maverick is saying we're all remaining confused. So if their objective was to maintain and obviously eliminate confusion, they have created confusion. And if we go on and have a look at reaction here from Ignotus, he says, I don't think you guys understand. This was a boom moment, and obviously this could be a game changer. So certainly getting spicy. And if we have a look at a response from Sensi, he stated, NextBridge Island state they did not call for the cancel date to be added and calls out FINRA on their FINRA rule 6490. So I think this is important to focus on this rule and not deeming deficient the MMTLP corporate action. They also state they are ready to release contradiction information about FINRA during a Congress meeting. So that will be interesting. I'm going to finish off by sharing the final reaction from Mardu, which I think is quite interesting. And he's stating here, FINRA 100% violated their own rules more than one. Yes, more than one, but here is the irrefutable proof that they violated 6490. So tell Charles, we're talking about Charles Payne, to get the prospectus 424B4 Part 4 compared to FINRA's first corporate action. He won't, but tell them anyway. I think there's actually a FUDster called Charles as well, so he's probably referring to the FUDster there. So checkmate, again, have a look at Marduke's post there. And the last thing I'm going to do is finish off by a reaction to follow up from yesterday's video where we talked about ticker symbol ARM holding. So if anybody managed to get into this following on from yesterday's video, congratulations. The stock was up in excess of 47.89%, closing at $113.89. So we did share some due diligence and breaking news in the Discord. So if you would like to join us and get access to such breaking news, details are in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned.